So it says you found a skeleton. How would you tell it's a dinosaur? You personally, how would you decide?
Well, interesting question. I don't know. I'd have to do some research on that.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this show that doesn't have a particular name because it's not part of a series. But it's me and Doc Dino, and I don't know, maybe someone else will pop in. You never know. It's always a circus around here. But we are here because basically, I think most people saw the stream I did with Will Duffy and Doc. And I mean, for a stream of mine, it got a lot of views, so I'm going to assume that pretty much everyone here saw that. But you also probably noticed that the presentation ended up being a bit truncated, both as a result of, some questions, which Will asked during the presentation, which is perfectly reasonable, but also by Will becoming, I want to be polite about this, incensed at
Somewhat
the idea...
irate.
Well, I'll go with incensed at the idea that it might be important that scientific methods be followed, because those methods have been hard won after many, many years, in fact, centuries in this case, of trying to figure out how to make sure that we can justify the claims that we make about the fossil record. And that part of that involves being able to successfully document where a find was, so that other people can go to that location and verify that the kinds of fossils that you say are there are in fact there, and that the rock layer that you say that a fossil is from is actually a rock layer that it could plausibly have been from. So yeah, that was a thing. And so we decided that we would go through the presentation, not necessarily without questions, because we do encourage you to ask questions, but we're going to try to save questions for the end. So what I'm going to say is, first of all, if you have questions, the most reliable way to get them answered is to super chat them, but you do not have to super chat them. But do keep in mind that we're trying to keep questions for the end from the audience, from the chat. And so if you at me with a question, I will try to make sure that I get it read, but there is a higher chance that I will miss it. And also, I will prioritize super chatted questions. So if we run out of time before we get to all of the added questions, then I may not get to it. So I also want to say thank Anani, the 3141592. I see what you did there, for gifting 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships. Thank you very much. All right, so let's get into this.
All right. I don't think I need to go into a full in-depth introduction here. Y'all probably remember me from last month's stream. I did hear that I came up a decent amount yesterday as well.
All right.
With Dr. Kip. So
yeah,
hello, I am Doc Dino.
You've been a lot of places lately, huh?
I have. A lot of people have been reaching out and asking me to do stuff, and it makes me happy.
Awesome. Real quick, for $5, we got Metageeky Platypus, who says, wanted to see this so much. Thank you, Doc. I will sadly leave soon for a con and not due to petulance. AIG is a bag of non-ceratopsian horns.
That's a clever one. Speaking of ceratopsians, I actually do have a special guest for our stream today. Little baby Triceratops plushie that my little sister gave me.
Nice.
Very cute. Very, very on point for this stream. Because we're going to be talking about Mark Armitage and his Triceratops fossils. If y'all have followed Dapper for any amount of time, you've probably generally heard of these before, but we'll get into the history behind Armitage and his discoveries here in a minute. First off, shall we begin the presentation, Dapper? Or
absolutely, go for it.
Do you have anything else?
No, I'm good.
Sorry?
Go for it.
All right, we shall go for it. So, before we actually begin, just a real quick overview of how this is going to work. I'm going to give an introduction to the topic at hand. We'll go into the backstory and outcomes of Armitage's research. Then we're going to go into my problems with his paper. of which there is quite a number. There's
yeah.
quite a lot of issues with this paper. We're going to focus on the main ones I have, and that Dapper shares, as far as I am aware.
Yeah,
Then
generally,
we're going to do some.
I think
Sorry.
I don't think we have too many disagreements on any of the points that you're going to bring up.
Yeah. Then gonna just do some quick factoids about fossils, and then pretty much get into the Q&A. So, obviously, since we are talking about, young Earth creationist research, the age of the Earth is probably going to come up in this discussion. But I do think that Armitage's work on his Triceratops soft tissue is pretty faulty, regardless of how old you think the Earth is. Whether his fossils are 66 million years old, 40,000 years old, or 4,000 years old, I don't think he's done the groundwork to prove their identity. He's also messed up with some of his methodology when it comes to the evidence for his claims. By the end of this presentation, some of us might still disagree about the age of the Earth, but I hope you understand why I, and most of the paleontologists I know, are skeptical about Armitage and his findings.
There's a Dapper's a professional moment just there. Sorry about that, everybody.
Oh, what happened?
Some audio accidentally played on my end that went through. Sorry about that.
Oh, it's all right. Just a bird call, I think. But yeah, why paleontologists in general are skeptical about Armitage and similar young Earth creationist claims about soft tissue, and why young Earth creationists should not hold up his research as evidence of a young Earth. So, gonna go back in time a little bit, not to the Pleistocene, but to the 1990s. Starting in the 90s, Dr. Mary Schweitzer started to discover some strange artifacts in the remains of Cretaceous dinosaurs. Fragments of what turned out to be proteins, amino acids, and some other types of original biomolecules in her fossils. Those discoveries completely challenged a lot of preconceptions we had about the fossilization process and how long some biomolecules could be preserved. It was really revolutionary, and for good reason, her work made headlines all over the world. In fact, her research inspired an entire subfield within paleontology, and she's still actively publishing today. She's still actively researching these things. And she's pioneering new methods in paleomicroscopy and the analysis of original materials, which is pretty cool. And her work, as well as
Doctor, I think we're having some kind of technical difficulties. I'm not sure what's going on. Hold on a second.
Okay.
What is happening? What is? Oh my goodness! We've been invaded by a goblin. Goblin attack.
Hello.
Hello. I can hear now.
Oh, okay, good.
Hi, it's me. You called. You rang. Did you rub my lamp? Did you wake me up?
I did not. You were up early this morning playing Darktide, and I can tell.
Don't you dare. Don't do it.
Are you telling me I'm wrong?
Did I say that?
Okay, there you go. As long as we acknowledge that I'm obviously right about that.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
All right, you two continue on. I have to go grab a coffee because I've been up since 2:30 a.m. So I need coffee. I'll be right back.
Oh my.
Sucks to be you.
Fair enough.
Sucks to suck.
Hello, Chesh. How are you today?
Better than I've been recently. I got, unlike Dapper, I did get some sleep for once. Ha 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 ha. And I got fresh new tea. Ha ha ha. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Hopefully you two can take a nap after the stream. I'll try not to drag it on too long, but there is a lot to cover.
Oh, good. Fantastic. Hi, everybody. I like your hat.
Thank you. It's my field hat.
Oh.
Do you have any familiarity with Mark Armitage and his soft tissue?
Yeah. Yes. I was about ready to say no because I didn't even know what we were talking about today. But then you mentioned Armitage and lay soft tissue, and oh, good. Is this where we are today?
Yeah, that's where we are today. Gonna be going over a lot of the reasons why I'm very skeptical of his work, to put it lightly.
Yeah, that's
Speaking
nice.
of, was just talking about how Mary Schweitzer inspired a lot of new research, both within the field of paleontology and tangentially related.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
partially due to the fervor that her research stirred up, in 2012, Armitage, Kevin Anderson, and some other colleagues excavated a large horn, some ribs, and vertebrae from several sites in the area near Glendive, Montana. After preparing their specimens, Armitage and Anderson discovered what they claimed to be sheets of soft tissue and osteocytes preserved in the bone. Osteocytes are the cells that create bone. Their research was published in 2013 with the claim made that these soft tissue elements were found in the remains of a Triceratops. Subsequent research on these bones and others found at the same sites reportedly yielded blood and nerve cells as well as considerable amounts of organic matter. And I will just say, Dr. Anderson did pass a few years ago, but Armitage is still fairly active and publishing in young Earth creationist circles. That is the story as young Earth creationists describe it, based on the actual papers that Armitage has published, as well as documentary appearances after the fact. I think there are some issues here, a lot of holes, and maybe some false information being shared. So we're gonna get into that stuff.
Maybe he says.
Wait,
I'm
thought,
being
though,
hesitant.
that-
I'm being tentative.
that lying was against the Bible and that Christians would never lie.
I am not going to say they are lying.
Hmm.
I will, however, say I might be suspicious.
Okay.
I'll say that.
Okay. Also, I happen to know many Christians who lie about a bunch of times about a lot of things. So turns out that Christians do lie.
Humans lie. They're
Yeah.
humans.
Yeah.
Social animals lie. Non-social animals lie.
Lying is a necessity to society.
Yes. Anyway, my main issues with the paper, I have 4 of them that we're going to be focusing on today. And these are based on both the original 2013 publication by Armitage and Anderson and Mark's subsequent publications, because he's made quite a few papers on the same material. So, based on the information presented in the papers, I should say, we don't know where the fossils were found geographically, when the fossils date to stratigraphically, so where they are within the rock column, which is kind of important.
It's also something
we don't know
creationists
what species. Go ahead.
It's also something usually creationists don't contest, is that there are layers and that those layers tend to contain certain fossils. Most creationists don't contest that. Now, Kent Hovind and his, flock do, but they're so stupid that most other creationists have tried as hard as possible to ignore them. They're basically they're the flat earthers that the other flat earthers say are stupid.
Yeah. But third issue is we don't know what species that the fossils belong to, or if the fossils are even from the same animal. They're probably not. And lastly, we don't know what, if any, soft tissue was actually found, which is kind of the main thing that creationists talk about when it comes to this paper. and Armitage's other publications. I don't remember the exact number off the top of my head, but he has like 7 papers based on these fossil specimens. None of those papers completely identify at least the first 3 issues. None of them. Which is fun. And we're going to start with issue 1, where the fossils were found. So, let's take a look at Armitage's 2013 paper, the paper that inspired this whole wave of young Earth creationist fervor regarding dinosaur soft tissue. Now, according to this paper, the horn was discovered somewhere in this tiny orange rectangle here, located to the southeast of the town of Glendive, Montana. The ribs and vertebrae were found within a mile of the horn, demonstrated by this red circle here to give you a sense of scale. That is 2 miles in diameter. And in order to find this orange rectangle, which probably just looks like a dot to the audience, I had to use the surveying notation used in the paper, which is a pretty imprecise method written as... This is exactly how it's written in the paper. A portion of land located at the east half of the southwest quarter of the northeast corner, section 14, T15N, R56E, Dawson County, Glendive, Montana, USA.
Yeah, good luck finding that.
I had to...
Are you kidding?
No, that's a
No.
direct quote.
Joke?
We read
Like,
it.
Did I...
We were reading
Is
the
this
paper
April
together.
Fool's?
No.
I had to cross-reference between like 3 different maps and Google Earth to get this location.
Okay, all right. Hear me out for just a second. I used to work at locating. So you know how there's like wires and stuff underneath your property that's like electrical or communication wires, and like they're like underneath train tracks and yada yada yada. We used to have to use like GIS maps and Google Maps to like figure out where properties were and yada yada yada. I have seen tickets written in crayon about where people are digging that are better than what you just told me.
Yeah. Needless to say, this surveying notation, which it is surveying notation, is not very often used anymore. And
Especially
it is
not in
not
paleontology.
used.
I wonder why. What? You don't say.
This is not the kind of location data you give in paleontology papers, for good reason. Since the 90s, we tend to use GPS coordinates or maps, which we will see an example of that in one of the next slides. But yeah, that orange rectangle is where this was found. Here's a zoomed in image of that exact location. And it looks small on the map, but this is well over 100,000. It's several 100,000 square feet, I believe, which is a lot of area to cover when you're out in the Badlands.
Yeah. It's also an area that's likely to contain deposits from different strata, which in fact it does, actually. We know that it does for certain. Which means that you have not successfully identified the strata in which you were digging via your site location, which is a big part of the reason that you give a location in the first place. It's not just a fun thing paleontologists like to do as a goof. There are actual real scientific reasons for this.
Yes, and we will get into more detail about that later. But I also just want to emphasize, the horn was supposedly found within this orange rectangle. The ribs and vertebrae were just somewhere within this red circle.
Which just means he found separate ribs and vertebrae of something that have no particular reason.
How many washing machines across is that?
It's a lot.
A lot of washing machines.
It's a lot. It's several thousands. It's probably
several tens of thousands.
So it's 2 miles?
2-mile diameter circle.
I mean, washing machines are usually a few feet across, so it's probably less than 10,000 washing machines across. It's about 5,000 feet to a mile.
I don't know. I just know it would be a lot.
Many thousands of
that's-
washing machines across.
And that's not good.
And an indeterminate
many.
an indeterminate number of half giraffes across.
True. Anyway. So, yeah. While this notation is technically usable, it's very clunky for a modern publication. Oh, and I did say in here, it's about a 96,000 square foot rectangle on Google Earth is the size of our reference area. Most modern publications, even in 2013, would just give GPS coordinates or high-quality maps of the site's location at different scales. We would also expect to see drawn or photographed site maps, neither of which are in Armitage's paper.
And also, Armitage has been contacted about this and said he did have a cell phone, but didn't have cell phone coverage, which doesn't matter because GPS does not depend on your cell phone coverage. It depends on line of sight to GPS satellites, which means he could have just written it down. He chose not to.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure Google Earth was around in 2013.
It would be hard to use without, the satellite, without a GPS tower, because that is GPS, or that, I mean, it's a satellite based. Like, that actually requires you to have
He would be able to
internet
use it
connection.
when he got back to his hotel.
Yeah, but yeah, you could take down the GPS location and just jot it on a notebook, or like put it in a file in your phone and write it down afterwards. So
There is this wonderful, wonderful, wonderful resource. I don't know how thorough it is in the United States. I do know in Canada it's pretty thorough, called GIS maps. And if you just search your city and you put GIS into that, you will get all kinds of information about the property lines, about like the locations. It is comparable and has been comparable to Google Maps for a long time. Google's gotten pretty crazy with like it doesn't have like the street views. So like you're not going to get that, but you will get pretty accurate information about location and cities and yada yada. I definitely recommend checking them out. Some of them are really cool. There's one called ArcGIS. So cool. ArcGIS is amazing.
I've used ArcGIS before. I actually had to take a class on it back in college. It was fun.
Very cool.
But yeah, we don't have site maps, which for anyone curious, a site map just shows you where specific bones were found. It's usually a drawn map or a photograph of a quarry from above. And also, not giving the location of the ribs and vertebrae is just weird. Most publications give precise locations for each specific find, or at least each specific quarry, because that information is pretty important. And just as an example of what one of those maps might look like, here's a really good map from a more normal paleontology publication. This comes from a paper by Emmanuel Schopp and Octavio Mateus from 2017. It's their description of a dinosaur called Gallimimus from Wyoming. I chose this publication specifically because I have been to this actual quarry. I got to visit it. And
like
I've also met Emmanuel Schopp, who is a very nice guy.
I like the note that said this road sucks.
Oh, yeah. That red road is a nightmare. It is a nightmare.
This road sucks.
My car almost died several times going.
Oh no! You weren't driving a Cybertruck, I presume.
I was driving a 2004 Ford Escape with 4-wheel drive.
Oh man, yeah, and you were having trouble in that?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yes.
A Cybertruck would never have
Car
survived.
through some shit.
Yo, that road sucks.
Yeah.
That's not even a road anymore.
Yes, barely a path.
The actual dig site with so the sites themselves are on private land.
Sure.
When I went there, I went with the owners, and they had a special dune buggy just to get themselves out there.
Nice.
That's amazing. Do you guys does your field of study have like a favorite vehicle to use?
Something durable that's easy to fix.
Oh yeah, okay. Valid, so Dodge. So you guys like Dodge?
A
like
good
the
old-fashioned
Ram one?
American truck
Well, like
that
you'd
uses
want
the
like the
Imperial
old.
system.
You want like the
when
old
you can
Dodges.
when you
They
have a
use Dodge-
covered truck, a covered truck is usually what you want to use.
Yeah.
But it depends on what you're working with. Trucks
Valid.
can't get into a lot of tight spaces or along super tight mountain roads, so
Get yourself
it's
an
a lot
SUV.
of small vehicles,
Oh, okay.
like
That's cool.
small,
I just-
reliable vehicles.
Yeah. Out here in a Toyota Camry.
No.
That would not have made it like a quarter mile.
Oh,
down
God,
this
no.
road. But anyway, speaking about the map specifically, you see it at different scales. Here's the state of Wyoming, the actual site in Wyoming, and then in this specific corner of Wyoming, you even get a lovely map tracing streams and roads. Like, you would be able to find these sites no problem using this map. And that's the standard. That's just what you want to do in paleontology. Because, among many other reasons, paleontologists love to revisit their old sites. Because more material is always weathering out. You can only dig down so far. So yeah, you want to be able to go back. Armitage's notation means that his exact site is almost certainly known only to him and the people.
I bet you he doesn't know either. He wouldn't be able to find his way back.
It's been so long.
Yeah.
I know that Shauna
long
Beisch
con.
claimed to know exactly where it was a few years ago when I called her, and she's the owner of this, or she and her husband, I believe, own the land that we're talking about where Armitage was. But like,
Mhm.
that's just her word, and she has a gigantic piece of property. So like, I'm not saying she's lying. I'm just like, I'm not as confident that she remembers as well as she thinks she does. As she is like.
Valid.
So we have this site notation. We know what a map should look like to get to a site. But there are additional problems. And this is about where I believe Will started to have his issues. So we didn't get to this because it's kind of important. Pictures of the dig sites released after the publication of their 2013 paper, not in the paper itself, contradict what the paper says about the locations of these fossils. Again, keep in mind, there's no site maps or pictures of the sites in any of Armitage's publications, except for one black and white photo of the horn sitting in the ground. None of the surrounding context. The color photos you're about to see come from an interview that Kevin Anderson did for the Is Genesis History documentary series.
That is a
So
man
I
I
have a
forget
picture-
exists routinely until someone mentions his name, and I'm like, oh yeah, that guy.
Yeah. But this is them digging something up on a hillside, which might be the horn, though I can't be for sure. Here is the actual picture of the horn from the paper, whereas here is a color version of the same photograph that was in the documentary. It looks kind of washed out because I upped the contrast to be able to see the tip of the horn, which I have outlined in white here. And then there's this picture. This picture shows Armitage and Anderson's dig team excavating something on a hillside. In the background, you can see the town of Glendive, including a very distinctive grain tower, this white rectangle here, near the center of town, along with several four-wheeler tracks on a nearby hill. I do realize this might be hard to see on stream.
By the way, Doc Dino and I spent hours trying to use this fuzzy, tiny picture of Glendive to roughly triangulate where this location was with Google
Dapper, you're
Earth.
stealing my thunder.
It was such a pain. Sorry. It was there's trauma associated with this picture, Doc.
We agonized over this for days.
Girls out here counting pixels.
Seriously. I was like, is that a grain silo? Is
you'll
that a
see.
church tower? What is happening? What are these buildings? It was, oh my God.
And then I went to Glendive.
Oh no! Oh
And yeah, it's
no!
a grain tower. I saw the grain tower. Anyway, you in this picture you can see the grain tower, some features of town, and some four-wheeler tracks on a hill. I will give Dapper a link to the presentation that he can put in the description. So if you guys want to actually see the image, like in higher quality, you can go there to see. But here's the issue with this picture. You can't see anything here from the location described in the paper. And I know that for sure because there's a mountain in the way. Or at least a hill in the way.
Oh no.
Yeah, so this is definitely
here's
not
a bigger-
the location.
Yeah, not the one in the paper. So here's a bigger picture. Here are a bunch of features in the paper that I use to triangulate its position.
Wow.
We have the grain tower. We have these circular
There's
structures
being
behind
petty, and then there's whatever this is.
it.
This was our
it's hard
obsession
to
for
s-
like a month.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
so
what
it's
you were
hard
doing.
to see here, but there's a tree in front of the grain tower that's sitting on top of a hill.
Oh my
There's also the
God.
specific locations of these dirt tracks here, which are the white lines, and then this building area over here with the white block.
Oh my God.
There's
Oh
that
my
stuff on
God.
Google Earth.
Site question mark?
We weren't
And
kidding.
it's some-
We
it's
did
somewhere
so
along
much
this green
work
line.
to solve the mystery of where the hell Armitage's dinosaur alleged bone came from.
This is amazing.
And then there's site question mark versus the location described in the paper.
Oh no.
But it does
okay,
get
so the
worse,
site
though.
question mark is where that picture is.
Yeah.
And then okay, I understand.
Uh-huh.
But it
Uh-huh.
gets worse though.
No.
Duck, you
no,
have
no. Don't
you
tell
have
me
the
that.
updated location from Armitage that Will gave us, right?
Oh god, I don't have that in the presentation. Let me
Okay.
pull up Google Earth.
I will tell
so-
you.
Yeah, tell them what
So
happened.
after this thing with Will came up, Will
This
Ask
is motivated by
Mark.
spite. It has to be.
yeah, oh yeah. Will
Yes.
asked Mark, where like do you have the GPS location? Could you give it to me? Latitude, longitude. So Mark gave him a location. It's a third site that is outside the orange rectangle, the southeast. So the
And
answer to where was
this
this is just there's just no answer. It's somewhere in like the air, like 100 miles around this place is probably where he got this horn. We don't know.
Uh-huh.
Oh, Fear
Here,
Longer says,
Dapper,
"Holy shit,
I'm
the
going to
bullshit asymmetry principle is
sharing Google
insane with
Earth
this
here.
one." Yeah. Oh, give me a second.
Oh my God. You've got to be kidding me, right? Like
No.
No. Oh, and yeah, the coordinates Shanna Beisch gave don't line up either. Because we got coordinates from her. They don't line up either.
Yeah.
What?
Now, granted, my rectangle is not perfect, but
Sure.
the sheer fact that it is meters outside the boundary is just...
Yeah, that's not exactly a small amount of space being covered.
Yeah. So we have, I guess, 4 potential sites where we know, or where someone has reported that something is going on, or where we've seen pictures of things going on. And 2 of them are outside the location, although 1 barely. But 2 of them are outside the location that Mark said it was in. And like,
Their location was already
potentially
presented
3,
was already
Dapper,
too.
sorry,
It's too
sorry,
damn
Dapper,
high.
not Dapper, not 4.
was it still 3? Okay.
gonna be
Maybe
more.
5.
Oh my goodness.
Let me go
more.
to the next slide.
Okay, give me a second.
Aunt Jur in the chat said, close enough, said no scientist ever.
Right?
And then there's this image. This comes from
What?
some creationist site. Or sorry,
Oh
it
yeah, I
comes from the
forgot about
Armitage's
this one. Oh my god.
website, describing the find and begging for money. This comes from a dry stream bed in the area where we see our crew searching for fossils. all of the streams in this area cut through Pleistocene deposits,
Where you might expect to see bison ladifrons.
who we will meet soon. So that's actually a wrong number there, because
It's now up to 5.
maybe 5 site locations.
Jeez.
And we don't know what was found where, anywhere, at all.
Hey, kids, if you find a dinosaur and you want to publish on it, just jot down the GPS coordinates. It's not hard, and you don't need cell phone coverage, much to the chagrin of Mark Armitage, who seems to think that you do. Of course, he also seems to think that bison horns don't have a bone core, so that man's just an idiot.
Lay chagrin.
Oui.
Yeah.
All I can think is
yeah,
this. I'm thinking. I have to think about this in like Rage comics. Like that's like where this is sending my brain, where it's just like, the ones I'm talking about, the Rage memes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. That's the appropriate place for it.
Yeah,
it's just the no.
when we had our when we gave this presentation initially with Will, I was so sad we didn't get into this, because
It's a bunch of chaotic nonsense.
just
Yeah.
like we
What do you
can't
even
trust the location data, and we need the location data to verify his claims.
How long did you spend just sorting through? Because I don't even know where to start.
A month, Chesh. It was about a month. I'm not kidding. It took up almost an entire calendar month of working on this to try to figure out where the hell any of this was.
You should have just sent it to that Google Earth guy. That's like, he would have been more accurate than the guy who was there would have been.
Guess who inspired me to do this?
Oh my god!
Specifically, like, look at the background and the images. I used his techniques.
That's so good. That's so good. You gotta tag him in this.
Oh, this whole thing was so chaotic. And also,
yeah,
I mean, when we found out, one of the big things was like, okay, people are saying it might be a bison horn, and I don't think I'm the one who came up with that idea. I don't think Doc is either.
Sure.
So, like, is that even a vague possibility? So one of the first things we checked was just like, is this the kind of place where it would be even reasonable to find a bison ladifrons horn? And the answer is yes. In fact, the closest known bison ladifrons find is, I think, what is it, a few scores of miles away?
I think it's like 20-ish miles away.
Yeah, not that far. And we know that this place has Pleistocene rock, so...
Yeah, it has Pleistocene deposits. This whole area does.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is problem 1.
Of many.
With this paper. We don't know where the thing was found, but we also don't know... Well, oh, sorry. Sorry, I forgot. I added in this slide. So why exactly does the exact location matter? That's because this area is rich in fossils from 2 very different times. It has late Cretaceous deposits, where Triceratops is found, and Pleistocene deposits, where Ice Age mammals are found. Because of the 60-ish million year age gap here, the precise location is crucial. Not only that, that's not the only issue. Armitage's paper doesn't have any kind of stratigraphy, which are illustrations or photos of the position of the fossils compared to the surrounding rock. This information is critical for determining the age of fossils, what they are, and understanding the context of the finds.
Bro, this is the kind of age gap that would get you on an Epstein flight.
What was that?
So this is the kind of age gap that would get you on an Epstein flight.
It's bad. And if we have any creationists watching,
Hello.
like, to you guys, this is the difference between flood rock and post-flood deposits. Like, even for you guys, this is an issue.
Right.
And Armitage does not address it.
We see, maybe it was just a post-flood Triceratops, Doc. Did you think about that? No, you didn't.
Oh my god.
I did not. I don't know. What is
This
what's
is the type of bone the
Triceratops
devil,
think?
the devil
Not sure he knows.
planted to
Yeah.
trick you.
And just for comparison, the image to the right here is what a stratigraphic column is. This again comes from that same publication from Emmanuel Schopp, and it gives a precise data on the specific positions of different bones as well as the surrounding rock. This information is standard. And I know the people in the audience can't read the writing here, but like this is written descriptions of specific rock types that fossils are found within, what fossils are found in what positions. This chart here tells you if it's found in like sandstone, mudstone, if it has coal, if it has bones, if it has shells. Like with this information alone, you would be able to find the exact layer that the bones were found in, even if you didn't know the exact location itself, which is very important context. Nothing like this is in Armitage's paper. But that's location, and that is stratigraphy, those issues. So that's issues 1 and 2 now. Well, okay, so ignore the number up here. I shuffled some things around before the stream. But so that brings us to our next issue. What are these fossils? Because these are the best photos we have of the remains gathered by Armitage and Anderson. A photo of a rib and 2 pictures of the horn. The second one, which shows more of the horn, is from the Creation Research Society website. It's not even from the paper, even though this is a more complete picture. This picture also isn't from the paper, but it's, you know what I mean. Without having a solid understanding of where these bones came from, we have to just compare their gross morphology, how they look, to known animals in the region. Which gives us 2 possibilities: Triceratops and bison latifrons, the Ice Age longhorn bison. Of these choices, one of them seems more likely and would also have a much greater likelihood of soft tissue preservation. If that is what Armitage found, but we'll get to that in a bit. Oh, also, for the record, we have no pictures of the vertebrae or of frill fragments that Armitage has claimed to find either. These are all the photos we got.
You gotta just take his word, and for many reasons, including his employment history, I do not want to take Mark Armitage's word for anything.
Valid.
Also, for $6.66, Mayan Finished Journey says, "Hail Nero, hail Daps, Chesh, and Doc, and hail petty investigative pedantry," with a fist emoji and a bison emoji. Thank you very much.
There you go.
Listen, it was a labor of love.
Was it
absolute hate?
Was it?
Yeah, I was gonna say hate,
yeah, it
yeah.
sounds like a labor of spite.
Yeah.
It was both. You can be both.
You can love to be spiteful. That's
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
So, let's compare our 2 possibilities. Bison latifrons versus Triceratops SP.
Yeah, Mark Armitage says
Bison
Horridus, but he makes no effort to show why he chose Horridus over Porsus. So, like, whatever.
Of course. But
just to be clear, by the way, by this point in time, you could have already thrown this out. Just this first issue so far is enough to throw out. There is no baby in the bathwater anymore.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
But why
the
bother
bathtub is
stopping
empty, but we're going to keep drilling down.
Got it.
Get into the groundwater.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes. Although, Dapper, you did... Sorry. You did bring up something that I don't think I addressed in this. The 2 species of Triceratops are stratigraphically isolated.
Mm-hmm.
So without the stratigraphy data, we don't even really know which species of Triceratops this could be.
Yeah.
Even if it is a Triceratops.
You could perform some kind of morphological analysis to see which one is more consistent with if you find a Triceratops and you don't have a good idea as to which part of the geological column you're in. But, like, he doesn't do that either. He actually doesn't even do anything morphologically to assure us that this is a Triceratops, which is what you would need to do if you didn't have very clear site location. So like at every single turn of him saying this is a Triceratops, his reason for saying that is trust me, bro, and also other Triceratops have been found near here, which I do not dispute. But that other Triceratops have been found there is not sufficient reason to say that therefore this thing that you found is also a Triceratops.
Yeah. Although I will say, you can't really determine species of Triceratops from horn shape alone.
No.
It's a lot of skull characteristics, because Triceratops does this weird thing where one species kind of grades into the other, and we even have a transitionary form between the species. It seems to be one of the few cases of what's called anagenetic speciation, where one species morphs into another over time. And the weird thing is, the transitional ones have absurd horns. Some of the biggest horns seen in Triceratops, and then they get smaller, which is weird. Sorry, just an aside. Anyway, our animals here. Bison latifrons lived during the Ice Age and is found throughout North America. It might be ancestral to the modern American bison, but was on average much bigger, with horns that could easily grow to over 1 meter in length. And that is just the bony horn core. There would be an extension of keratin coming off the sides. So maybe add another foot or so to that. Triceratops, on the other hand, lived during the late Cretaceous in North America and is known from hundreds of skeletons divided among 2 species. Their horn cores could also grow up to 1 meter in length, though there is some differences between the species. And again, for creationists in the audience, post-flood, pre-flood, they would not be found in the same rocks. So, with bison latifrons, as with many horned animals, it exhibits quite a bit of variation in horn shape, but the horn cores are generally very long and curled upward from the skull. When in good condition, you also see long grooves that trace the path of the horn. Now, notably, the horns don't extend directly from the side of the skull, but there is actually an expansion in girth following an outgrowth of the frontal bone, which is a specific bone in their skulls. So they have a bone outgrowth, they grow, and then you get the horn. Like there's a space there. That's important. Keep that in mind. For Triceratops horns, while the shape does differ between species, they are generally slightly curved or recurved. Triceratops horridus typically possessed larger, recurved, or straight brow horns. This is, I believe, Hatcher, one of the most well-known Triceratops horridus. Their horns were also, like I said, typically larger. These are the ones that could reach up to 1 meter. Triceratops prorsus typically possessed smaller, more curved brow horns, and these are, generally speaking, smaller. In both species, their brow horns are direct outgrowths of the supraorbital bone, which forms just above the rear of the eye socket, and the bone directly behind the eye. Humans don't really have an equivalent there, but they grow right behind and above the eye. And again, directly out of the bone. There is no expansion and then outgrowth. Now let's look at our horns side by side. This is the most complete shot of the horn from Armitage and Anderson's paper. And while it is hard to identify fossils from pictures alone, I do lean towards it being more of a bison latifron's horn, especially considering a few things. One, the size of the horn. This thing is easily 1 meter long, possibly more. That's pushing it for Triceratops, but normal for bison latifrons.
What year did he find this in?
The paper was 2013.
2012.
Yeah, 2012. Okay. So actually,
Sorry?
2012. The year the world ended.
Okay. Oh, all right, right.
Right.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, the Mayans killed everyone.
Okay. I'm gonna sound like a dick for a second, and it's partly because I'm being a dick. But when you found something that is so cool and so interesting, and you find this thing and you're super excited, and the pictures you take are trash, and like you only have 1 or 2 pictures. Like, what are you talking about? It's almost like you knew this wasn't what you were gonna pretend it was later, and so you didn't end up taking down all the information or taking a bunch of pictures that you would be really excited of because you found this thing that you think is this thing, and you're like, oh, whoa, I found a thing. So it was 2012. People had smartphones.
I don't know the degree to which this is Mark Armitage being dishonest, because the thing is, I don't think Mark has to be dishonest to explain any of this. The man is clearly someone who does not know what he's talking about outside of his field, which is specifically how to use microscopes, which this is not that. And so I think that he might just be this ignorant of how anything in paleontology works. But
you don't have to know about paleontology to be excited to take pictures of a thing you found.
That's true. Yeah, no, I mean, yeah I don't know.
Like I said, I'm kind of being a bit of a dick. So, like, yeah, maybe it's not going to be enough to prove he was lying about something. I'm simply saying...
Yeah.
This doesn't really comport. There's a little bit of a... you're making me do a little bit of a hop, skip, and a jump over the logic of, here's the best picture we have of it. I'm like, bro, how do you not have, like, 500 pictures of this thing?
I'd also say, if this is actually a Triceratops horn, this would probably be in contention for longest Triceratops horn ever found. It would be close. That's why I said contention.
It's on the upper end. It's not a record breaker, though.
Even with that extension to the rear?
Record belongs to Yoshi.
The thing is, like, how much of that part to the rear that we don't normally see that's in this picture do we count, and how long is that? Because I think that if we finish off like the tip that we can't really see and we include that back part, it might not be record breaking, but it might be in contention for a potential. I don't know.
It would be pretty big. It would be pretty big. I will say that.
It would make the news, especially like the local news. Like, again, like I said, you'd be like, oh, hey, I think before you even excavated the entire thing, you'd be like, oh, I think I found something. Better like section off this area and be like, better call somebody who knows what they're doing.
Which would not be Mark.
Which would not be this guy.
That's what you should do.
Is that not common knowledge?
My unfinished sock for $5 says, "Don't try to grift."
In school.
My unfinished sock for $5 says, "Don't try to grift young Earth creationists with fake Triceratops horn. Like and share the stream instead." Yeah. Now, I still think that the most likely explanation is that Mark has misidentified a horn rather than has faked it. I don't look. I don't think Mark is above lying to people, based on, like I said, his employment history. However, I don't think I don't need that hypothesis in this case to explain what's going on. I think that this is well explained by Mark just having no clue what he's doing.
You're doing the don't assume
I'm just going to show this picture again.
The competence. Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm gonna be on the other end. I'm gonna be on the end of, no, this guy's been lying the whole time and he knew he was lying the whole time. Now, maybe it's because, I don't know if there's a difference in the United States versus Canada, but when we get taught about paleontology in grade school, like in grade 6, or like even grade 5, when they're like, oh, hey, yeah, this is paleontology. This is what we do. You go to like a pretend dig site or whatever it is that you're doing. The teacher throws some like plastic dinosaurs at some dirt or some nonsense. That's whatever awesome. The hell they're... yeah. Whatever it is that the school, depending on your district, they'll do different things. But when they discuss this and when they go through this, even like really early, when you're like in grade 3 and they tell you, and they'll like, somebody will come in and they'll hand around a tooth or something, and or they'll like a little rock with a little swirly guy in it, and they'll be like, oh, look at this thing. Yeah, if you ever find anything, make sure you stop what you're doing and you let an adult know so they can call the person. That is like common knowledge where I'm from. So like, is it just not where you're at?
So I've been involved with some paleontology education, and that information was relayed to children, but I can't speak to all paleontology education of children countrywide because
It's
it
not
varies.
even like about the paleontology education. It's like part of our just general education about like don't touch things when you don't put it in your mouth. Like what are you doing?
Speaking at least for myself, I wasn't told that in school. Especially like what to do if you find a fossil. I had to learn that on my own.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah. But then again, I came from a place that didn't have dinosaur fossils. I came from a place with like shells and coral, which you're basically
Sure.
free to take. If I lived out west, I might have gotten more of an education, but I don't know for sure.
Well,
Like,
I'm
especially
in
if I was in
Southern
an area where dinosaurs are known, I probably would know, hey, report this. But
Yeah, I don't know how I don't know how much more that information is put forward based on your location. So if you're out like out west where like, you know, Alberta and stuff, you might maybe they're a little bit more heavy-handed with it than they were with us in Southern Ontario. But like it's come on, guys. What do you, especially as a scientist. Like this isn't a child we're talking about. This is an adult man who has some education in science and should know better even if his education in science is wholly unrelated.
I
That
mean-
doesn't mean all of your brain goes out the window.
Okay, but he's an adult man who thinks that the world was flooded 4,000 years ago, and that it killed every living creature except the ones in a wooden boat.
Which is admittedly like not very a bright thing to believe for a lot of reasons. But that is completely independent for knowing the logistical process
I
of
don't know.
I found something outside of my field.
If you believe in Noah's flood as a real historical event, I put you in the intellectual category of flat earther, which means I do not assume that you know how to do anything competently. And any competence
like
that
it
you
does
show lends me to
right.
think that
I
you're
see what you
being
mean.
dishonest. Because you have such an absurd view of what happened in the world that is completely impossible, and for which there is both figurative and literal mountains of evidence precluding.
Yeah, I guess you throw this entire thing out the window because this dude was literally doing a dig that he had no business doing in the first place.
Well, I mean,
Like, why was he there?
so
Like, what are you doing?
He paid the family that runs Beisch Ranch, because what they do is, so they're cattle ranchers, right? But they know that this part of their ranch has a lot of fossils, and so when the cattle aren't there because it's off season, they open it up to people who want to pay to dig up dinosaurs.
I mean,
I hate the United States.
Yeah. That's reasonable.
I will say, I don't blame normal people for being ignorant of geology, especially here in the US, where it is not taught very well at all. Like at all, it isn't. In some areas, it's not even really taught. I don't blame people for being ignorant.
Yeah.
I do a little bit.
I do think if you are going to publish on it, though, you have a duty to do your due diligence and your due research. And
Well, and he's not a random. He's not a random schmuck.
Exactly. I think Armitage did this very irresponsibly, especially with how he has gone on to propagate it throughout YEC circles without putting in the proper research or properly substantiating his claims. So I wouldn't blame Joe Mr. Name for not knowing how rocks are formed down the street. I do judge Armitage for not knowing how to figure out what a thing is.
Yeah, it's the same thing
before publishing on it.
That's fine. Yeah, him not recognizing it is fine. Him not calling somebody who would know to do a better job is definitely his fault.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I mean, the whole like expecting people to know things. It's the same thing as like, I called out Kent Hovind really hard for not being able to tell me what a dinosaur is. I would not do that to Chesh, because Chesh isn't going around pretending to be an expert on dinosaurs and then misinforming people.
Exactly.
So
But you hold people to different standards based on what they are trying to do
Mhm.
and what their degree of competence should be for what they're trying to do.
yeah, like
Anyway,
I mixed up two superheroes yesterday, and that's because I'm not a comic book tuber.
I don't know a lot of them, I'll be honest. But so bison horn. Why do I think it's a bison horn? 4 reasons. 1, the size of the horn, like we've talked about. This thing is on the uppermost end for a Triceratops. They rarely get this big, and we don't know if we have the complete horn because we can't see the underside of this section here. That could be more horn. That could be part of the skull. I can't say for sure. I would lean towards it being part of the skull because it is crushed a lot more than the rest of the horn, but sometimes bones get crushed in places. I also think it's a bison because of the curvature of the horn. Because it appears to curve pretty strongly right here. And a
do all
lot of
these groups have
Triceratops horns,
curves?
even when they do curve, are generally more straight than this. There's usually curve at the base and then straight tips or recurved tips. This is a solid curve all the way through, which is more consistent with a bison. Let me just get through all of these quick. Lastly, or third, the surface texture. It's really hard to see in this picture, but in the better quality image we have of the rest of this horn, it looks like it has those grooves running along the length of the horn like we see in bison latifrons. You don't usually see those in Triceratops, or at least not as pronounced. In fact, you can see them right here in this bison horn. And then lastly, number 4, the base of the horn looks like an extension of underlying bone rather than emerging directly from a more massive bony shelf, which is a morphology more consistent with bison latifrons than Triceratops. There's just a better quality, well, a closer look at the horn for the people in the audience. So here's the horn. You can see the grooves running along the surface of the horn. You can see a consistent curve from base to tip. And in the other image, you can see more of this uncovered, but it appears to be an extension of bone, just like you see here.
Yeah.
Sorry, you were gonna say something, Chesh.
I like that there's a guy laying on the ground for size.
It is cute.
Yes.
These pictures need more bananas for scale.
Very much
Yes.
so. I do want to point out, if this is a bison horn, it would be the first one found on Bice Ranch that we know of. So no matter what's going on, it's an unusual find for this area. Either it's a gigantic Triceratops horn that is larger than we would likely expect, and that is morphologically strange, or it's the first ever bison horn, both of which are weird and not expected. So, like,
Which
Yeah.
low-key sucks because we could be having a way more interesting conversation about what's actually here instead of spending a month trying to geolocate this guy's general location.
I do think though that the striations that go along the same line of flow as the horn are really obvious in this picture. And
Yeah, they're-
Triceratops doesn't have
they
that.
are.
Triceratops horns, they have sort of a
Chunky layer.
it
Build
is a
up.
little bit
Like
kinda
a
chunky.
branching blood vessel
Yeah.
appearance.
And like it's really obvious if you're up close with a really well preserved Triceratops horn, which I have been. I've been like inches away from a really well preserved Triceratops horn, and you can see the blood vessels that like where they left, because the horn itself has like a cuticle, right? So it produces keratin as a sheath, and that keratin has to be produced by living cells, so they require that blood supply. And you can see where the blood vessels were on the bone. It's very obvious, and that is not the texture that we're seeing here. So yeah.
But then again, this was just my opinion. And while I do know a decent amount about ceratopsians, I'm not an expert. So I reached out to an expert. And
Yeah.
expert testimony can be faulty, but I did reach out to a friend who researches ceratopsians to get his opinion on the matter.
Amazing.
I forgot to edit this slide. Oops. But so this comes from a friend of mine who did his master's thesis on ceratopsian horn evolution and methods of combat. So he is intimately familiar with the horns specifically.
He knows Triceratops horns biblically.
Yes. Well, I don't know about that.
Sorry, just ripping off the fact that you said
I'm not going to give his
intimately.
name. He asked me to just give his initials. But he says the curvature of the horn combined with the sheer length of it greatly resembles that of B. latifrons. But this does come with the caveat that Triceratops horns have a great deal of individual variability. The bones at the base also resemble the outgrowth bison have on their frontals. So he came down on the side of this being bison. He did offer to share his email with Will for more questions. Will has not asked me for his contact info. But yeah, so yeah, that's coming from a ceratopsian expert.
Oh my lordy.
Chesh, I don't think you were prepared
Amazing.
for how petty this entire thing has become over the years.
I came in here not even knowing what we were doing. You dumped me into a sand pit and I'm sinking. Help. Amazing. So I reached out to an expert. You mean you did the thing that we just said you should probably do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine
Wow.
that. Imagine actually taking the logical next step.
Imagine doing what you say and like talk like doing things that God.
Yeah. And again, he did give the
there's my
caveat
dice.
that their horns are pretty variable, but he came down on the side of latifrons, especially when seeing this image. Before seeing this image, he was kind of iffy, but seeing this, yeah, it's he says bison.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we don't know where the bones were found. We're not certain what they are, but they're probably not what Armitage says they are. Well, why don't you go over what he found? What he says he found in the bones, because there's
before we
also
do
stuff
that,
to discuss there.
There is one quick thing I want to point out, which is that the horn has largely been destroyed now, and so we can't go back and double check to see if it is morphologically consistent with bison or Triceratops, because it was broken into pieces and large amounts of it were dissolved in acid before sufficient pictures were taken.
Dapper, you're skipping ahead. Dapper, you're skipping ahead.
Okay.
Babooks
Sorry.
under the chat
Sorry.
said Chesh subconsciously sniffed out the pettiness, and that's why she showed up.
The petty goblin searching the internet. Sorry, Dapper, but we're gonna get to that. We're building to that.
Okay.
I
get excited.
Goodness. I like how
I
each one of
appreciate
these
that.
things could be their own video. Like
Yeah.
each singular one of these things that you've covered could be its own.
We're on to like our
Yeah.
third reason why Mark Armitage's find is bullshit and means nothing for anyone.
I see that. It says problem 3 on the slide.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yes. So
These slides are
in
very
his-
informative.
thank you. In his initial publication and in others, Mark Armitage has claimed to find blood vessels, cells, nerves, and a ton of different biomolecules, all of which he claims to be from this horn and associated bones. Now, I will just quickly say, finding these things, all of these things, is possible. As demonstrated by the work of Dr. Schweitzer and others. The much better documented work, I might add. But some of his claims are a little less credible. For example, he claims to have found blood clots in his Triceratops remains, which are just mineral incrustations. Something that is common with any fossil, if not necessary to the definition. It might be hard for people to see on the stream. Again, link to this presentation will be in the description. But these are canals within the bone. The orange sections are the actual bone itself. Orange is spaces between the bones. This kind of blue and black flecked pattern That's a mineral incrustation on the inside of the canal. There's another one over here. You see these in literally every fossil. This image here, this dark brown line is supposed to be a filled-in nerve, or sorry, a preserved nerve or blood vessel, according to him. It's just filled with minerals. And he even has like a microphotograph, something he's qualified to do of a blood vessel. He says this is a blood clot.
It's not.
It's just minerals.
Yeah.
Like they're shaped like minerals.
Yeah, so one of the ways you can tell is, so blood clots are just collections of tiny little protein chunks that clog up the blood, right? They basically form a little like haphazard dam that stops the liquid coming through. These all have a bunch of right angles, which is what crystals do in certain crystal matrix shapes. So what these are a bunch of crystals that have formed from minerals. And you can tell because of all the consistent right angles that are all over the place. Platelets don't do that.
And how different crystals are intergrown with each other, which they also do.
Yep. So like everything about this just screams, these are crystals that came out of whatever liquid solution was in there, which sure, maybe it involves some blood. Maybe that was part of the liquid solution in there. I don't know. Seems unlikely. But either way, those are minerals and not platelets.
Yeah. And then there's the question of what Armitage did to find these things, along with his soft tissue claims. So
Problem
what did he do?
I love that.
And these are misnumbered. This is like problem 5 or 6 by now. But this is what Dapper was kind of
yeah, I was alluding.
Kind of getting ahead of the game on. So, according to the original publication, once the bones were obtained, Armitage and Anderson took them to a lab and soaked them in a solution of glutaraldehyde with a buffer for 5 days. The samples were then rinsed with distilled water before being broken into smaller pieces for examination. Some of these fragments were decalcified, and any soft tissue scraps were infiltrated with resin. Seems pretty simple, right?
I mean, it is
here's
simple.
A fun question, and Chesh, I'm going to ask you this. Any guess what glutaraldehyde does without looking it up?
Glutaraldehyde.
Glutaraldehyde.
Okay, so like, I don't know, something to do with your butt cheeks?
I mean, that's a good guess. It would seal your butt cheeks together.
I was going to say glue is the other word. Is it sticky?
It is a very reactive cross-linking agent.
Yo, I actually did. I did pretty good. Take that. I'll take it.
When glutaraldehyde comes in contact with organic matter, it merges it into a gooey mass. And I want to bring attention to the order of events here. That was the first thing they did. They did not clean these bones. They did not remove the insect burrows and poop and plant roots and fungi from the bones beforehand. They dropped them in solution.
And by the way, you can see some of those plant roots in the previous pictures that we showed you. If you look close, you can see that the thing has plant roots. Like, yeah, right here.
There's a little
root
right
there. And there's actually another one, I think, further down distally. Yep, there's another one.
Yep, right here.
And like,
you would have a better time with my dirt box, my dirt water box.
Yeah, probably. It probably has less contamination.
I could turn it into a.
Well, yeah. Look at how this used to be the same color as that, and it's not because this plant is slowly filtering it, so it's getting a little bit lighter and a little bit lighter. And this plant will eventually do that to the rest of this box.
Yeah, but so. He submerged his samples full of organic matter into a cross-linking agent for organic matter.
Yeah.
And, quoting from a 2016 publication by Armitage about the horn, he says that it had plant roots, fungal hyphae, and insect remains all throughout the horn. From Armitage himself. And considering what they did, I'd be surprised if they didn't
Do.
encounter
Now, Mark,
stretchy sheets of soft tissue. Soft tissue.
Yeah. It's just an organic
Like
sludge
this.
left behind by the glutaraldehyde. That's all it is.
This is the soft tissue that made the news in creationist circles. You can still see
this is
bits
actually
of
crazy.
crap
Mm-hmm.
lodged in it.
But think about how crazy this is, and then think about the fact that this is seen by most young Earth creationists who are at least aware of this topic of soft tissue as like the slam dunk against evolutionary timelines. Mark Armitage found all this soft tissue proving that this Triceratops horn had to be young. And it's like, pretty much every single part of that
No.
statement is wrong.
Yeah, no. Just why? Just why? What are we doing? Why are we here?
We're confirming our biases. Well, that's what the creationists are doing. They're confirming their
Oh.
biases. Yes.
Oh,
The thing about this paper is somehow at every turn, except for the microscopy, which is kind of good, it is embarrassing.
yeah. Embarrassing is a good word for this.
It
Stop.
fails on every level.
Just don't. Like, there's no need. You didn't need to do this. You didn't need to do this and then spend, like, how long has he been on this? What'd you say?
It's been
published
over
in
a decade.
2012?
No, he published in
2012.
2013.
Yeah, it's 2020, the year of our Lord 2026. What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing?
See, Chesh, you're laboring under this impression that like creationists have some ideas about like rigor or the need to actually be correct about data or to follow proper methodology. They don't care about any
Or
of that
care
shit.
about their own argument.
Yeah,
They don't,
they-
apparently.
All they care about is finding post hoc rationalizations to believe what they've decided to believe at the outset. That's it. And when all you're doing is looking for post hoc rationalizations, you don't care about rigor. You don't care about facts. You don't care about data collection. All you care about is, does this seem like a way that I can trick my own brain or the brains of other people into thinking that my belief was always justified?
And just to talk about the outcome of this publication, which we have spent, I think, like almost an hour and a half going over. Since this publication in 2013, many young Earth creationists have used this research, along with work by Mary Schweitzer and others, to support their belief that the Earth cannot be ancient. Many researchers have spoken out against their research being used to support this viewpoint, including Dr.
Yeah.
Schweitzer herself.
Yeah.
When asked about this in a 2014 interview with BioLogos, this was her response.
BioLogos, by the way, is an explicitly Christian outfit.
Yes. One thing that does bother me, though, is that young Earth creationists take my research and use it for their own message, and I think they're misleading people about it. Pastors and evangelists who are in a position of leadership are doubly responsible for checking facts and getting things right. But they have misquoted me and misrepresented the data. I think that's a pretty good quote to sum up this whole thing.
It's pretty damning. That's a pretty damning quote. This is like when you go to like the alpha male guys and you show the guy who came up with the alpha wolf theory saying, no, this wasn't, no, you're wrong, no. I did a whole correction, guys.
Yeah. But that is most of talking about Armitage and stuff. I did want to go over some quick misconceptions about paleontology before we get to the Q&A.
Yeah, Chesh, this part is for you.
Oh.
Yeah, there you and the Americans who went to a failing education system. Because when we are taught about fossilization, it's usually grossly oversimplified. I learned about it in high school.
Yeah.
And it was super simplified. So let's take a quick look at how this goes, which I think might clear up some lingering issues for creationists that might be watching this program. And for everyone else, you'll probably learn something, so pay attention. So here's the basic model of fossil formation that everyone learns in school. How did I write this? Sorry. So the formation method that's taught in school is thing dies, thing gets buried, thing turns to rock, things come to surface. That's really oversimplifying things, is the issue. The actual process is very complex. Not everything does get replaced. There's actually degrees of fossilization, as it turns out. Something that has only recently as in within the last few decades, been started to be fully appreciated by the paleontological community. Fossilization takes time. Not only that, but depending on the preservation mechanisms that a specimen experiences, some fragments of original material can be preserved for a super long time. This is especially true for the more resilient parts of a fossil, such as pieces of bone, teeth, certain proteins, shells, are more likely to be preserved than, say, fossil tissue. This is especially true for hard parts, or things that are sealed in an air and water type environment, such as in amber. And because some of these super stable things can be preserved for so long, we can do some crazy shit. For example, we can do stable isotope analyses. Some fossil types are so resilient or preserved in such amazing conditions, we can determine the body temperature of the animal that they came from. These studies in particular used preserved isotopes preserved in teeth and eggshells to calculate the body temperatures of different dinosaur species. The latter, the eggshells, take exceptional conditions for sure, but they can be done. I think I left a sentence fragment here, but despite such an analysis seeming contradictory to the basic model of fossilization, it's not complete replacement. This study up here at the top, for example, calculated the body temperature of Camarasaurus and Brachiosaurus. Everyone knows what Brachiosaurus is, and its body temperature came back as comparable to modern birds, about 37 degrees Celsius for Brachiosaurus. This study went even further. It has data, again, you can't really see this unless you look at the presentation, but it has the data from this upper study. But it also does theropod dinosaurs, which exhibit, it does, where are they in here? It has theropod dinosaurs, which exhibit a surprisingly wide range, but we do again get bird body temperature levels. We also get some from, I believe Ellipsolithus is like an oviraptorosaur. This is sauropods over here from this study, which is comparable to what we got for Camarasaurus and Brachiosaurus, so confirming those results. And we even have stuff from like hadrosaurs here, which also bird-like. It's really cool. We can get data like this because fossilization is a complicated process. We can even get original proteins preserved. Collagen obviously has been talked about, but also keratin, the stuff your fingernails and hair are made of, and the feathers of birds. In this paper, Dr. Schweitzer and colleagues retrieved keratin and preserved melanosomes from Eoconfuciusornis, an early Cretaceous bird. That's not just original proteins, that is organelles of cells.
Subcellular structures.
Subcellular structures. 30 years ago, suggesting something like this could be possible would have gotten you laughed out of a conference. But thanks to the diligent work of Dr. Schweitzer and others, it's been shown to be true. It revolutionized our field because like every field of science, paleontology evolves. And a specific note about collagen here, because it keeps getting brought up. When Dr. Schweitzer first discovered soft tissue in T-Rex remains, the world of paleontology was rocked to its very core. But in the ensuing 30 years of research, we've uncovered multiple preservation mechanisms that help explain how collagen fragments can preserve for thousands, if not millions of years. Iron cross-linking is a well-known mechanism, but there are others. If you go to the presentation and read through this chart, it gives a great overview of several different preservation mechanisms that all work together to preserve things. There's also a link to an article that goes super in-depth into the molecular science behind all of these. But why are we even talking about this in conjunction with this talk about Mark Armitage? Well, because soft tissue preservation is apparently a problem for paleontology. And why is that?
Not
because
for good reasons. Sorry.
Well, it's a problem because creationists decided it has to be a problem.
Mhm.
There was an initial shock to Dr. Schweitzer's research, but that's gone now. Her first publication on T-Rex soft tissue is, I believe, 31 years old now, because she had a small publication in 1995. And nowadays, study of soft tissue is so common, I did it in my undergrad for a homework assignment.
Wow.
I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
So while creationists might be incredulous that fossils can last for an extremely long time, their incredulity does not make it impossible, nor does the existence of soft tissue negate the fact that our other dating methods are not only robust, but cross-conformational. Now, I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone has regarding dating methods, fossils, or anything else regarding dinosaurs.
All right, we actually do have a
We
few
are now ready
saved.
to begin the Q&A.
We have a few saved questions that came in as either super chats or membership milestone chats. So first up,
Sorry, just a brief sec.
Oh.
Sorry, my sister has come for her little Triceratops, so he's going bye-bye. There you go.
No.
This is my dino, not yours. Okay, fine. She's gonna borrow my iguanodon, I guess. Okay, now shut the door, please. Thank you. Sorry.
No, it's adorable.
No.
All right, so do note that I am still collecting questions. So if you have more, you can either at me or send a super chat or membership milestone chat. Membership milestone chats and super chats will get priority, but I will still try to collect all of those questions. So just at Dapper Dinosaur or super chat or membership milestone chat. All right, first up from Victoria Macarios for $5. What are the differences between older rocks and the younger ones? Is there a visual difference you could see in photos?
So that depends. That very much depends on what exactly we're looking at. And sorry, just she's making the dinosaurs watch the presentation.
Oh, okay.
So that very much depends. It's hard to find good pictures of the glacial sediments in this area. The Hell Creek is fairly well understood. I will say that some of the pictures do resemble the Hell Creek, but it's a very diverse formation. There are a lot of different rock types preserved, ranging from mudstones to sandstones, even some volcanic material and coal. So,
yeah,
from pictures alone, I can't tell you.
I'll also add that, generally speaking, looking at a picture of a rock, unless it is a very distinctive rock from a very well-known place, it's generally not possible to use that to date something. There are a few places where there's like a unique mineral from one single place that we have well dated, and if you see that mineral, well, okay, since it's unique to that one spot, sure. But generally speaking, rocks do not visually give you a sense of their age other than just their position in a stratigraphic column, which only gives you relative age. Which is why geologists are so diligent about both stratigraphic and absolute dating techniques and making sure that they know exactly where things are from. Because if you don't know that and you don't want to go and radiometrically date every single rock, which isn't even possible for all of them, then you're not going to be able to figure out how old a rock is. So yeah, photographs not really going to help you with that too much. Now, if it's a photograph of a very well-known location, like if you take a photograph of the Grand Canyon, yeah, I can use that to tell you how old those rocks are, because the Grand Canyon has clear stratigraphy and it's well characterized for age. But like generally, yeah, not really. Petite Flower for $5 says, I can't believe he was being honest when he did destructive testing before letting anyone else examine the horn. So the thing is,
Yeah.
it's. I agree that is a certainly a very bad practice, but I still think it might have seemed reasonable to someone who just didn't know what he was talking about. And also, if he had taken sufficient measurements and photographs, it might not have been that big of a deal. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I will say, in publications like this, if you're going to do destructive testing, one, you usually do it on a very small portion of the material. Like, you don't do the whole thing. You do, like, a square centimeter, maybe, a chunk, or a couple chunks. But you usually take pictures of the specimen before you do anything, as well as pictures during the process, or at least diagrams.
That's just
there's
how
nothing
scientific
really
papers
like
work,
that.
really. You should be documenting every single thing you did.
I think you could do a little bit of both, right? You could say that in some things he was being dishonest, in other things he might have just been ignorant. But I think that there might be like a through line where it's like he was excited about what he thought he had, at least, and in his because he dishonestly got that in his brain really early on.
Yeah,
I might
does
just
that make
put it
sense?
down to weaponized incompetence. He doesn't know how to
Right.
do things right.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. He ought to have known better regardless, because again, like I said, he's not he's somebody in the chat was like, he's still a schmuck, he's just not a random schmuck. I'm like, yeah, exactly. The fact that he's not random, he's not just a random person who had access to these things, who then went and did this stuff. He has some education, has some understanding of the science. He clearly had an intention of what he wanted to do with the thing he had, and then proceeded to do everything wrong.
basically, yeah. Except the microscopy. He seemed to do that really well, which is to be expected.
Which demonstrates the point, right? Like, he knows, at least when it comes to his field. So, some skills are transferable, my guy.
It feels very similar to, how do I put this? It feels similar to Steve Austin dating the rocks from Mount St. Helens.
Oh.
Except you could chalk some of this up to ignorance.
Sure.
Some of it. But it's like, this is
the parts that I'm chalking up to
2010s.
ignorance are like, he would have lied better if he knew better about what he was doing.
Yeah, but like, it's not hard to reach out to a paleontologist on Facebook for their opinion.
Yeah, paleontologists aren't
clearly
like vanishingly rare creatures that scurry away at the moment that anyone approaches. You can just ask them stuff. All right, we got another one. Let's see. Deviantic TV, who's been a member for 60 months, is at the tetrapod level, says, why do you think Will became so unhinged over this? So I think a lot of it is that Will has, I think, an incorrect view of what science is and how science works and why science has standard methodological procedures for certain things. Will seems to be under the impression that, like, TFE, the final experiment where he went to Antarctica with some flat earthers to show them the 24-hour sun, was a scientific experiment that, like, learned something, when it really isn't. It was just a rhetorical thing that says, hey, even the flat earthers have seen the 24-hour sun. We went there. We did it. We're removing
it's more
this
of
rhetoric.
an observation as opposed to the science part.
Like, this isn't TFE didn't get published anywhere. No one's going to be winning any medals or awards for having shown what we all knew was always there and that many people had already seen. But Will seems to think that the way that science is going to work is that there's going to be someone does a thing, and that thing is just going to overturn the previous paradigm, and it doesn't really matter how they do the thing, just that they get the results that are contrary to whatever it is that is the paradigm. And you can see this also in his very firm insistence on, and I think the most recent conversation he had with Erica, which is still the one that he had before we talked, where he said, oh, I know this guy, and he's going to overturn everything we know about cholesterol. It's actually going to turn out that cholesterol is great. You want as much cholesterol as possible. And in the meantime, that paper has been retracted.
Oh.
So, like, it's not even a paper that is technically even, like, really published. It's technically, I mean, it was published physically, but, like, when you retract it, it's basically saying, nope, never mind.
Are you saying... Are you saying that because his predictive capabilities aren't there, then his methodology is flawed?
Not for that.
And
that's not quite what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, Will has
I'm not sure if you understand what I'm getting at.
Maybe I don't.
I'm talking about, like, there's a scientific method, and generally it helps with predictability. And so he's not doing that.
No, he's not. And I think it really does come down to, my guess is that Will had an inadequate education about what science is and how science works. Because science is not primarily about one guy going out as a maverick and finding the thing that overturns the consensus.
It sounds kind of Hollywood.
Yeah, it does. It
is.
He seems to think that science works the way that Indiana Jones tells you that archaeology works. But it doesn't. Archaeology also doesn't work that way. What really happens is you go out, you use rigorously documented methods, you do tests, you do multiple tests, you gather data. And if you gather sufficient data that allows you to challenge some reigning paradigm, that's awesome. That's great. That's what scientists love to see. Although they'll fight you on it, because if they can overturn your paradigm shift, they also get a whole bunch of credit for that. And so, but ultimately, a lot of it's just boring. Sitting in a lab with a microscope, with calipers, with little bits of chemicals here and there, just tweaking things and writing down exactly what you're doing at every step, and making sure other people can reproduce what you're doing to the maximum extent possible. In some cases, it's not super possible. Like if your experiment is like, well, I saw a supernova. Well, we only have a few years to look at that. So, like, to the maximum extent possible, reproducible. And then you slowly start to shift the consensus. But I think Will thinks that all of that stuff is for stodgy professor types who are holding back the mavericks. And it's just not true. It's a fun movie idea, right? Like, you have the mad scientist who's going to invent cold fusion and put an arc reactor in his chest and fight the bad guys, and all these stodgy old guys who were like,
Independence
"Oh no,
Day."
Yeah, like
where they get the two scientists that quote unquote nobody listens to until they do.
Right, and it is sort of a pop culture depiction of how science works. But like I said, it's just not true. And I think Will is steeped in that. And I think what he's finding out is that science is not what he wants it to be. Because clearly he wants it to be a thing where he can throw some money at a maverick experiment and then prove something and overturn whatever else was previously believed. I think that's why he has suggested that Doc and I and he get together and do some testing for soft tissue on a known Triceratops horn in a known collection, which is possible, and we could do it. But the thing is, we're extremely unlikely to learn something new from that, because that test has already been done. And if he wants to do it again, fine, I'll help with it. But, like, it's just like with TFE. It's like, we know we can find soft tissue in Triceratops horn. We know what it looks like. And, yeah. So, let's see.
And also, just for the record, with that offer he made, like, I'd be happy to be along for the ride. I'm not specialized within paleontology yet. I have my bachelor's degree. I want to go for my master's. I do not want to be a molecular paleontologist, personally. Yeah. It's just not the sort of thing that really interests me. We would have to reach out to a specialist, or better yet, several specialists, to
Ideally,
actually
yeah.
do this properly.
Let's get Will onto Debate Hub to debate what is science.
That could be interesting.
Oh, God.
Right-handed Sith, who's been a member for 35 months, is at the Amniote level, says, if you are sub to Doc, make sure to double check it. Yeah. YouTube repeatedly says that they don't unsubscribe people, but people
do.
repeatedly get unsubscribed from channels that they were subscribed to. So, like, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah, it do be like that.
Let's see. Fearmonger, the blurry potato, says, I'll ask again while tagging you in case it was missed. Okay, I did miss it. Is it unheard of to be able to connect fossil fragments miles apart to the same individual, or is that reasonable?
Why is science?
So
Why is Gamora?
Okay. So here's the thing. If they are still in the rock, if they are more than a few meters apart, it's unlikely for it to be the same individual. By a few meters, I mean like 10 or more meters. It's pretty unlikely. When bones are eroding out of a hillside, though, the fragments that erode out can travel a pretty good distance. I have traced bone fragments to their source over, I want to say 50, 60 meters before.
Which is a far cry from a mile, but...
Yeah, like, you can sometimes correlate things to a distance, but once it gets to a certain point, it is a much more likely scenario that you're looking at maybe a couple bones from the same species, but different individuals. You do have to get them out of the ground first and do a lot of analyses on them to attempt to question if they're from the same individual or not.
Let's see.
You would have better luck trying to like just go and grabbing that bird outside of Dapper's house and grabbing that bird and doing the experiment with that bird.
Because I guess I should say a couple of inches in stratigraphy. So if you find like a T-Rex bone at one level and then another bone a foot or two up, we don't know. It's very hard to tell how long of a difference that is. That could have, one bone could have been buried the next year, or it could have been buried a decade after, or it could have been buried 10,000 years after, depending on local sedimentation rates.
Chat is killing me. Science goes in, science goes out. You can't explain that.
Awesome. Let's see.
Amazing.
Spielkalb von Sparta asks, about blood vessels. I thought we only have remnants of those in dino fossils.
We do. We have fragmentary remains of blood vessels. Or what? I'm not sure if they're confirmed to be blood vessels or might be blood vessels, but we do have fragments.
Okay.
They're very small, though.
DM Wing asks, is the one published photo shown... I'm going to go with, is the one published photo showing the horn in rock or soil? That's what I'm going to go with.
I am not sure.
Which could have been helped with a stratigraphy analysis.
Exactly.
Mark?
Or proper site photos. From the picture we see, which I will... let me go back in the presentation. From the picture, I'm not sure if it's rock or if it's just compacted sediment. It could be either. I would lean towards either compacted sediment or very soft rock, both of which are found in the area. But I can't tell you for sure without actually being at the site and like testing it.
Yeah, this is, once again, a question that could have been solved very easily by Mark Armitage by just following even basic paleontological methodology. But he didn't.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't seem to know it, or he doesn't care about it. And to be fair, I will also say that, like, Weiss Ranch has a lot of dinosaur digs, but most of them are not for scientific purposes. They're for tourists who have the money to go dig up a dinosaur bone and who want to take home a Triceratops. And while I am generally not a big fan of private fossil ownership, it's also the case that museums have hundreds of Triceratops horns, so I'm not that bothered by this. It's like I own a tiny little trilobite fossil, and technically that's private fossil ownership, but no one cares. No scientist cares about my one tiny trilobite. So like, this is in that sort of gray area where it's like, yeah, ideally we wouldn't have private fossil ownership because science should be able to examine these things. But also, I'm not going to get all up in arms about this particular instance.
Or maybe there needs to be an additional rule to be like, listen, you can privately own this, but these are the conditions in which you are allowed to do so, and they have to be kept under certain conditions and within da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Like, you could make rules around this.
In some countries. Also,
Yeah,
I will be right back. I'll be back in like a minute.
Okay. So Orange Dot 432 says, did Armitage do chemical analysis on the rock? So if he did, I have not read about it in any of his papers. The paper I'm the most familiar with is his initial 2013 publication about this that was published in, I believe, Acta Histochemica, which is a microscopy journal. And in that, I did not see anything about chemical analysis of the rock. So yeah, as far as I know, the answer to that question is no. But it's not like he said, I did not do chemical analysis of the rock. It's possible he did it and just didn't report it because nothing interesting came back.
Which is part of the whole problem. He may or may not be doing things that we may or may not know about in a may or may not exist way that may or may not be substantial.
Part of the problem is
how would he know if whatever data came back was valid or useful? He wouldn't. This isn't his field.
Yeah, and part of the problem is, generally speaking, if you look at a paper and they don't say they did do a thing, that means they didn't. Because scientists normally are extremely thorough with documenting their process, and they put in everything that's even vaguely related. But I don't trust Mark to do that, and now Doc is back with a counterpoint.
Yeah. Okay, so I read a lot of Armitage's papers to get ready for this. I don't think he ever published like chemical results on any of the rocks surrounding him or surrounding the bones, but he did do radiocarbon dating on one of his fossils.
That is a weird thing for him to do, but okay.
And how did that go?
It came back with a date of 40,000 years.
So consistent with a bison.
If he did it right, which I don't trust him to have done it right.
There.
But that is... sorry, not only did it come back with an age of about 40,000 years, the lab that did the testing also said that they could not confirm the presence of any original material.
So it ranges between consistent with bison, latifrons, and completely useless.
Yes.
Cool. Cool. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
So,
this is useless. Because what I've understood is that this guy is useless at best.
Well,
for this, whatever this thing
for
is.
science, yes. For creationism, he's been extremely useful.
Really? Because he seems like for creationism, he's doing the thing that makes like everything worse for them.
But Chesh, you gotta understand,
on the same scale as any of their other frauds.
Creationism
Right.
is a profoundly inward-looking thing. They don't care about you or me or Doc Dino for the most part. The reason creationism exists is not to convince us. It is to keep people who are already convinced and part of this particular brand of Christianity, which is a fundamentalist, evangelical, and typically Christo-fascist and Christian nationalist version of Christianity. And that's why...
As someone who was in a church and was told this kind of thing, I mean, you've seen Tisdall Tuesday, who has seen this kind of thing and had people preaching this kind of thing at me. Do you have any idea how annoying it is for somebody to say that? You make a note about it, you go home and look it up, and you find us assholes?
I hope very much that is exactly what happens. And hey, look,
if you are that person, please tell us. Please. Yeah. Like we've been there, man.
Yeah, I know exactly how it is.
If you have any questions about dinosaurs or anything, my email is right here.
Remember, he did
happy
say
to
anything.
Answer any and all questions.
So if you need tips,
I got so many questions.
If you need tips about like how to trim your toenails correctly, you can ask Dr. Dino. He said any question.
I need to trim mine, so maybe don't ask me that.
You said you said questions about anything. Are you now telling
Well,
me
you
that was
might
a
not
lie?
get good answers. He's not
Dinosaurs.
promising good answers.
That's a good
on
point,
anything.
yeah.
He's just
Okay, that's fair. All right. We have a question from another question looks like from Spielkalb von Sparta. Thanks. I've asked the question because young Earth creationists think that soft tissue were like a steak that you can I think it means you can cut through on the barbecue. It's a bit hard to grasp that what that exactly means for the layman. Yeah, so what it usually means is microscopic bits that are derived from proteins that have mostly decayed away, but tiny little bits of them remain. And you get to them by dissolving all the hard parts in acid, usually. If you were to open up one of these bones, or one of these usually rocks in the shape of bones, you would not get meat. You would not get blood flowing out. You wouldn't get marrow that you can pop in the oven and spread on your toast.
Yeah. And again, for the record, this is usually done on fragments of material, not on the entire bone. When Mary Schweitzer did her discoveries, she did this stuff on scraps of T-Rex bits that were left over from bringing the fossil back from the field.
Now, Chesh,
right, because you don't want to unnecessarily damage things.
you laugh about the idea of popping open a fossil and eating, but I will let you know that at least one dinner at the Natural History Museum in England, like the one in London, the paleontologist there ate inside of a still under construction model of a dinosaur, and the main course was thawed mammoth meat from a mammoth mummy.
All I can think of is like, is it cake?
No, it was meat.
No. I mean, like the trend, is it cake?
Oh yeah.
Or somebody's sitting on a chair and they pull off a piece and it's cake. Like you go and you walk up to a Triceratops bone and you break off a piece and it's just meat inside. Like
gross.
The bone part is literally inside the ribeye steak part. What are you talking about?
Actually, this also connects to another claim that has
The
been
meat
made
goes around the outside of the bone,
in creationist
not
paleontology.
inside of the bone.
So, what is it? Ian Juby, another Canadian, by the way, not just Mark it's not just Lawrence Tisdall and the Answers Canada guys. There's more of them. So Ian Juby claims to have gone to places like Yukon and Alaska, and to have dug up completely unmineralized dinosaur bones. His evidence for this is that he says he did it.
Oh well.
So that is a claim that kind of circles around every once in a while in certain creationist circles. I'm expecting Lawrence Tisdall to bring it up at some point if he hasn't already, because he knows Ian Juby. My guess
would like to. Sorry, go ahead.
My guess is that Canadian young Earth creationism isn't a huge circle.
It's not. It's really not a very big circle. There's like a small movement that's like, it's not very big. I think it might be shrinking, but I have to double check. There's been a thing that I keep meaning to go and look at, but I haven't gotten around to it. I will eventually. But I would like to remind everybody that it is not uncommon or even unknown, and is actually quite common in some areas and in some topics, for Canadians to grift the hell and meme the hell out of Americans. So do not be surprised if you find out some Canadian is just fucking lying to you because they think it's funny.
And lucrative.
Yeah. Fair.
And lucrative. Sometimes it's like, oh, I told this funny joke sarcastically. Oh no, they believed me. Oh no, now they're giving me money to do more. Okay.
There is actually one other crazy nonsense thing about dinosaur paleontology specifically that I want to mention that comes up in young Earth creationist circles, since I feel like we're just kind of closing out with like a grab bag of bad dinosaur paleontology. And that is sometimes you will see a mummified foot that creationists will claim is the foot of a dinosaur, and how could it have been so well preserved? And the thing is, they're not wrong that it's the foot of the dinosaur, but it's the foot of a moa from New Zealand that's a few thousand years old, and not the foot of a non-avian dinosaur from the Mesozoic. It was found in a cave, and it's just a bird foot. It's the foot of an extinct, very large bird, I'll grant you that, and it does look like what you would expect a Mesozoic dinosaur foot to look like, because birds are dinosaurs. And it's always ironic to me.
We also have several moa heads.
Yeah. It's always ironic to me that they're like, look at this awesomely preserved dinosaur foot. I'm like, you guys realize that is in fact a dinosaur foot, but it's a bird foot, and that is you sort of tacitly acknowledging that birds are dinosaurs. Like that's what's happening there. So yeah, overall, Young Earth creationists, just like with everything else that they touch, they are consistently either incompetent or dishonest, and it is always a little bit of a guessing game as to which one it is in any particular point. I'm still to the point where I think that Mark Armitage is mostly incompetent. I do think there are areas where he is weirdly cagey about things. But I still think that most of this is incompetence, and I know that Chesh is sort of on the opposite end of the spectrum, where it seems like she's saying mostly dishonesty, but some incompetence. And I don't think we'll ever actually know, right? But
No.
at the very least, we can say that Mark Armitage is not someone who can be relied upon to report paleontological findings reliably, especially ones he makes himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Either way, whatever your opinion ends up being, whether or not you're more on the dapper end of the spectrum, I'm more on my end of the spectrum, or somewhere in the middle where Doc seems to be landing. The arguments are there. All of these positions are pretty valid, and it's really gonna be no skin off of your back one way or another. But the end result is the end result. Like at the end of the day, regardless, this guy's useless.
Yeah.
In this category.
And we only focused on one of his publications today.
Yeah.
He's done many more on the same bones.
I still can't believe you were geo-guessing him. That's crazy. For a month.
Fearmonger, the blurry
dedication.
Fearmonger, the blurry potato says, Buddy Davis of AIG has claimed that. I wonder if this is a collab with Ian Juby. I actually think it might be. Because I'm pretty sure that I've heard Ian Juby mention Buddy Davis. And I do think that they've gone out into the field together, but this is me like trying to remember things from years ago, because the last time I covered Ian Juby was like 4 years ago or something. And it was the only video I ever covered from him was actually when he was talking about the evolution of sexual reproduction. And the big reason I covered it is because he made in that video the claim that the only way for two organisms to mate is if the intromittent organ, which in mammals would be the penis, and the reproductive tract of the female are exactly the right size and shape to fit together like a lock and key, which I found to be very confusing, given that Ian Juby belongs to a species with variable sizes for both of those organs, and it doesn't fit is pretty much never the reason for infertility between any two humans. So, yeah, that was really weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. So good times. I think Chesh might be frozen. Oh no, I saw her shake her head a little bit.
I mean,
I
think that's a good way to end the discussion on
dumbfounded.
Yeah, that's a good spot. It's like it's not as bad as that time we caught Lawrence using a question on a test, but it's up there.
So that is one thing. It's like I wonder, does Ian Juby just not realize how stupid that is? Because apparently he's just never done anything sexual with anyone ever, including himself, probably. Or is he just dumb?
Yeah,
relying. I don't know. It's very confusing.
Some mix
Also,
of. I think that the reason why it's confusing is because it's not definitively one thing. It is a jumbled knot of fuck, and you're just being thrown it, told to unfuck the knot, and it's like no, I don't wanna.
Also, really quick, I think just to give my overall idea on Armitage and all this, since you two have.
Yeah.
I think he is incompetent when it comes to paleontology. I just cannot tell if it is overconfidence in himself and not wanting to consult others, or if it is intentionally incompetent.
Yeah.
Meaning he does just enough to get a publication published without substantiating it with information that would let others definitively debunk him.
Oh, there is also
It's
a
a
wrinkle.
He's
very
being specifically
fine
vague.
line.
Yeah.
There's
Yes.
also a wrinkle. He publishes his paleontology works in journals that do not have anything to do with paleontology normally. which means he's escaping peer review by paleontologists, which is a tactic of a pseudoscientist.
Yeah.
So in that part,
True.
I do think he's being self-aware. I think he knows that he would have trouble passing real peer review from actual paleontologists, and so he submits his papers to things like microscopy journals, where it's going to be people who are like, well, did he use the microscope right? And the answer to that is usually yes, because he is an expert at that. And they're like, okay, sounds good to me.
Mm-hmm.
So
I am just I am hesitant to ascribe to malice what could be explained by incompetence. That's just how I generally am. I try to give people the benefit of the doubt, but especially given how long he has been wrong about this,
yeah,
it does look more and more intentional by the day.
Well, and when
Is
he
where I
has
stand.
readily available access to people and resources, and like he has access to going to these labs, he has access to doing these experiments in the first place, he has access to professionals that he could just reach out to, and he's definitively making a decision not to do that. And that on its own is not necessarily an issue of incompetence, maybe overconfidence, or maybe a mix of overconfidence and being like, nobody's gonna know. Who could possibly know?
Spielkalb von Sparta asks, where was this, quote, paper published, by the way? So the paper that we've been covering mostly is the first paper about this from, I believe, 2013, and that was in Acta Histochemica, is the name of that journal. It is a microscopy journal. As far as I know, it is a real microscopy journal. But like I said, that doesn't make it equipped to do peer review on paleontology. Just, microscope use and maintenance and research about microscopes. And yeah, publishing this in a place where you cannot get adequate peer review is a common young Earth creationist tactic for getting things published. I'm not going to go into a whole laundry list, but this is a thing that other creationists have done, is publish things like, oh, look at my work on overturning the fundamental theorem of evolutionary biology, which is a mathematical theorem that I published in a mathematics journal. And it's like, yeah, but you misstated the axioms of the thing, and the axioms you used, yeah, that does overturn the theorem, but you used the wrong axioms, and no one in the mathematics journal is going to notice that because they're not geneticists. Yeah, they do that kind of stuff, and that's an actual paper.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly who wrote it, but like that is a thing that happened. So yeah, it's, and as Chris Decker says, weaponized intentional incompetence asymptotically approaches malice. It does. And when I say that I think that Armitage is incompetent, I'm primarily focusing on that first paper. I do think as you go through time with people pointing out flaws and him having an opportunity to learn about paleontology in order to correct the problems, and him refusing to do that, I do think that edges towards malice.
You can also just be incompetent at lying.
Yeah. But
True.
we have been here for a couple hours, and I think that people have mostly asked their questions. So what I'm going to say is, Doc, what do you got coming up that people might be interested in looking at?
Well, I have a couple things. I'm currently working on a few videos. I'm working on a documentary review. I'm reviewing episode 2 of The Dinosaurs now. I already put out my review for episode 1. They're very in-depth deep dives covering all of the creatures shown in the documentary, as well as the environmental catastrophes that take place and the evidence behind them. So, explaining the stuff you see on screen, basically. It's like a companion guide. My little sister, who interrupted us earlier, also asked me to do a video talking about the cutest dinosaurs from every group. So,
okay.
I'm probably going to be doing that sometime soon, too.
Yeah, cute. Are you gonna do a smasher pass
for his little
Don't
child
on the
sister?
Cute dinosaurs.
No, as a separate question.
Oh, okay.
What do you mean?
We'll see. Maybe that sounds like a fun thing for a drinking stream.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Dapper, you could host that. That'd be fun. We can get a few paleo creators together.
Yeah, do it. Oh man, yeah, do it as like a group.
I will say, my mom watches my channel, so I'm not sure I want to put that on my channel.
I see. So we're putting the Smasher Pass on my channel. Got it. I mean,
I'll host it if you really don't
I was
want
actually about to say, I think it actually is more appropriate for Chesh's channel.
Sure.
I'll do it. My mom watches my channel, and I'll do it anyway.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So
I also stream every Tuesday and Saturday, or at least I try to. I do a debunking stream like Dapper does,
yeah.
usually focused on dinosaurs or geology or
sense.
something. And if you are interested in either of the videos I talked about, when they come out, they will be coming out early for channel members. So if you appreciated this presentation, it took a lot of work to put together, I would appreciate a subscribe and maybe a membership if you feel like it. But
All
you don't
right.
have to.
Chesh, you got anything coming up in the next few days that you want people to know about?
I have Marvel versus DC Superman versus Hulk debate coming up on the 4th on Debate Hub. The philosophy show is on the 6th, also on Debate Hub. On my own channel, things are going to be a little bit wacky because I'm in the middle of figuring out where I'm going to be living and moving and stuff. So if you don't see me when you would normally see me, it's because I'm going to be spending like basically the next month and maybe a half figuring out what the hell is going on. And it's Tisdale Tuesday, not next Tuesday, but the next Tuesday.
Yeah. You're moving to Tucson,
So I guess
obviously.
I'll see you next Tuesday.
Well, the Tuesday
I don't know
after
why I
that.
was here. Thank you for inviting me. I had fun.
Did you have fun? Yeah.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
All right. Here, I'm just gonna let you guys know it's the normal schedule. I got something on Tuesday. I got something on Thursday. I got something on Saturday. You guys know what's going on. All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone. Remember, if you still have questions, you can leave comments. Please share this around. The channel could use the help there. So yeah. And lastly, if you actually like what I do here and you want to help out, there is Patreon in the description. You can join the channel memberships. You can buy some merch. All that stuff really helps. And ICE must be abolished. So yeah. Bye.
Yeah.
Hey, before you leave, I just want to take a second to thank my patrons and channel members, especially those pledging $20 or above. Siloof, Ben Tovand, Tapioca Weasel, Mikau Dominiak, Sammy LaFleur, Edwin M., Kenneth Swenson, John Ackerman, Sphincter of Doom, Regios, Landon Knoll, Ian Chen, Eleron Teller, Phil Rivara, David Hercules, Joshua Geese, Dan Sheedy, Pegajace, The Plastic Mouse, Gordon Loves Science, Amber Athelian, Prixie Purple, Agricola Sequa, and Me, Myself, and I. It's because of my channel members and patrons whom you're seeing on screen that this channel can stay afloat. Without you, it would all shut down. If you want to join the team, there's a link to join the channel below this video, and there's a link to join the Patreon in the description. On the Patreon, you can get a 15% discount for pledging annually, and either way, you get early access to virtually all of my scripted videos months before they come out for the general public. Thanks for watching.